Hey everybody, Ryan Molly here, and just really excited about tonight's guest. He's a local entrepreneur, businessman. He does video production for his kind of full-time job, but literally, he's such an interesting guy. All the different things he does, from hunting, fishing, was playing professional golf for a while. I've known him for well over 2 decades. Our paths kind of diverged at a certain point in our lives and careers when I moved to Detroit, but they reconnected. And, he's just a great guy. You're going to find his story fascinating. I can't wait to introduce him. His name is Jay Witosky. He's a local from the Titusville, Pennsylvania area, the birthplace of the oil industry. And you're going to want to stick around till the very end, too, because for the Sawbones Challenge, it's a little different tonight than what we've ever done before. But it's what it's all about, keeping it fresh, keeping it exciting. So see you in a little bit. Take care.
All nurses to the nurses station.
All us country people are real close family. Lately some of my kinfolk don't get around too good, you see. When that doctor asked them, son, how'd you get in this condition? They says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. They wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hey Sawbones, my story, my passion. So first things first, I want to welcome you guys, and I really can't wait to tell you guys the story of how my guest that's here today and I met, and also just to share his story. Amazing guy, amazing friend, husband. We kind of were, I'd say, disconnected for maybe 15 to 20 years, reconnected through some video projects. And lo and behold, kind of picked up right where we left off. He now has a company that does a lot of filming, editing, and he actually edits Hey Sawbones. So without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce and welcome and get a good conversation in to share the story of Mr. Jay Witosky. So
Thanks for having me.
yeah, absolutely. So you know the format of this because you've edited all the episodes.
I've seen every second.
And you get to see and some of the back. There's not a lot that you edit out, but just some of the little things. I've more recently started having conversations with the camera, like when we're done with the segment, where I'll be talking to you, which is kind of fun. So even though you're here, I'm talking to you right there, Jay.
Yep.
But as you know, we always like to hear a little bit of kind of the who you are, where you're from. I know a little bit about this, but let's tell our viewers who you are, where you're from.
All right. So you said it. I'm Jay Witosky. I'm Northwestern Pennsylvania guy. I was born and raised in Titusville. I live there now, actually, but moved away for a while. Came back probably 12 years ago or so. And, it's a great place to raise a family. It's hard to beat. Yeah, the winters aren't that great, but I mean, there's worse things. So I've done that, and now entrepreneur, business person in the production world, and I love it.
You've had some phases of your life and career. I mean, so, right after you went to Titusville High School, graduated in 1998.
Yep, 98.
And then did you go to Liberty?
Yep.
Then
I went to Liberty. I actually went to Liberty and played golf there.
Where is Liberty too? Just for our
Liberty
viewers?
is in Lynchburg, Virginia. So they call it Central Virginia, but it's really like South Central Virginia. About an hour north of the North Carolina border. Okay. So right between like Roanoke, Richmond, and Charlottesville.
Okay.
So I was down there, played golf, and then turned professional and played golf professionally for a while. And
at Liberty, because you went to like a golf academy, didn't you?
Yeah, afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
And
is that Myrtle Beach or?
Yeah, that was in Myrtle Beach, which you came down.
Yeah.
I think one of your spring breaks.
Yeah.
You came down and let's see, you, Ben Caldwell, and Maddie
Schmidt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else?
I don't think so. I think it was the three of us, right?
Yeah, I think so. I do remember like the last hour and a half of your ride. I remember walking out of my condo to come meet you guys, and your car smelled awful. And I was like, what the heck is like, why does your car smell so bad? And something had happened with your tail lights on the way down. And so like your blinkers weren't working or anything. So like for the last hour and a half of the drive, you had to like rest your foot on the brake pedal.
I totally forgot about that. Because I think it was like nighttime too.
Yeah, it
right?
was.
So
it was like 11
to
o'clock, like when you pulled in, and it was, yeah, you had rode the brake pedal lightly just to be able to keep your light on. And hey, you got there.
We figured it out, right? Country boys figure out solutions. I mean, I needed new brakes when I got back to Pennsylvania, but.
Yep. So yeah, I was there in Myrtle Beach. Then after that, found myself in South Florida in the West Palm Beach area, kind of like where all the golfers go who are trying to make something. And it was nice. You know, it's great if golf is your thing and you want to work, you know, but it never felt like home to me. Mm-hmm. And I actually always had an interest in video production. It was never something that like I did full time. It was more of like a hobby thing for me. You know, like when I was a kid, that was back in the VHS days, and we would basically steal our parents' VHS camcorder, go out in the woods, do whatever we did and just shoot things. But like, I never thought I would make anything of it. And a friend and I got together and we wanted to go on a hunting trip. And he knew stuff about camera operation. I knew stuff about editing. And we kind of formed this like little makeshift business while I was still playing golf, and kind of the stars aligned. Our very first project, we did a commercial that aired on national television, and then it just kind of blossomed from there.
What was the commercial for?
It was actually for an archery accessory company.
Okay.
For an arrow rest, and it was on the Outdoor Channel, the Sportsman's Channel, and then a couple weeks later, we got phone calls for more projects, and it just kind of like grew out of nothing.
Wow.
And
is that the same company that you have now?
No, I kind of like branched off later on because we were super, super niche down. Mm-hmm. And I just felt there were greater opportunities elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So, kind of just moved out of that arena a little bit, but all of this was happening while I was still playing golf.
Wow.
And, playing golf, it's great. I loved it. I've got some great friends and had some phenomenal experiences, but, being on the road 35, 40 weeks a year just wasn't my thing. And it, just kind of took a toll on me. And I got to the point where I was like, I don't enjoy this anymore. This little kind of makeshift business that was formed was starting to do things. So that was kind of my freedom day, you know, in a sense, to be able to just go off and.
So how long have you been doing video production, like full time?
Since 2009.
Oh, wow. So
yeah,
quite a long time now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So 14.
Yeah.
Going on
14,
15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
When did you form your current company?
My current company I formed in 2015.
Okay.
So the other stuff we did from 2009 till 2014, late 2013.
Okay.
And then, you know, it took me some time to put everything together on, you know, how I was going to now attract new clientele in totally different arenas than what I was accustomed to. So
yeah, you're pretty broad now. I mean,
yeah.
From hunting stuff to medical stuff to, I mean,
tourism to, yeah.
we do that all from Titusville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Which really isn't a film mecca. So
At one time it was an oil mecca.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's not much of a mecca for anything, but you know, in today's day and age, like we can do work for a client across the country and like really never have to meet face to face. Yeah. In the last year, I've done several videos for different clients where a product comes in, do everything right there, whether it be indoor studio, outdoor, whatever it may be. Finish the project, hit a button, they get it. And, you know, we never have to meet, but, you know, makes it kind of nice. You don't have to live in New York City or LA
California.
or
Yeah.
So
it's easier for your family.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, your family, you're from that Titusville area.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Well, as you know, again, you're familiar with this, but you thirsty?
Yeah.
A little beverage break before we go into the Q&A session.
Yeah, sure.
So
I'll take a
as
drink.
always, I always ask my guests, hey, what do you like to drink, or what are you looking forward to drinking? And I was not disappointed with Jay's choice tonight. It's a Pennsylvania staple, oldest American brewery, and you guessed it, folks, Yuengling Lager. So let's bring it out.
All right, let's do it.
And if you want, while I'm getting this ready, you can tell a little bit of, I mean, remember my mom's watching, you got some kids watching, but if there's any fun PG versions of Yuengling stories that you can share.
So, in all the drinks that we've had together, and I said this to you earlier, like this is probably the one beer we've consumed the most of together.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean we've consumed a fair amount together, but this is probably the most. And I don't know if we need to go into details, but I'll say when we went to Dave Matthews, that was my first Dave Matthews concert. I don't know if it was your first Dave Matthews concert.
Hard to remember because I've been to so many.
Yeah. But
the next one that you went to kind of felt like your first one too, because you probably didn't remember too much from the first one.
And this played a starring role in our stories from that night.
Three River Stadium too.
Yeah.
Right before it was imploded. So, well, cheers.
It was actually the last concert.
Was it really?
In Three Rivers, yeah. Yeah, so.
What year would that have been?
Was that 01 or 02, somewhere around there?
Okay. I mean, because we met probably, was it 99-ish?
Yeah,
you say?
Probably around there, yeah.
Yeah, we were both dating Titusville girls that happened to go to Mercyhurst, and we're roommates. So we spent a lot of time together when I was at Mercyhurst, and you come back from Liberty for the weekend or whatnot. And just formed a fast friendship from playing the game, which is a football game that we kind of created out the Briggs Apartments on Briggs Avenue at Mercyhurst.
Good times.
Lots of concerts and 21st birthday parties, things like that. So we definitely won't go into that story.
Yeah, that one's not one
that's
I
locked in the vault.
want my kids to hear.
So again, you know the format, Q&A session. If you want to ask me 3 business, then 3 personal, you know the veto thing, and you know that no one's done it yet. So
Yeah.
I doubt you'll be the first.
Yeah, I'm pretty open. I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to go right into the hip and knee question.
Okay.
So, and it's kind of a 2-parter. I didn't want to waste one of my questions. I didn't want to waste 2 of my questions. Kind
That's
of on
fine.
the same
You can
thing.
wrap it up into 2.
So,
You're our post-production guy, so you can kind of do whatever the heck you want.
Okay. So recently I was talking to somebody, they have a close friend who they've been in pain for a long time. I don't know if it's knee. I don't know if it's hip. I know it's lower extremity, knee or hip. And they've kind of been feeling like, yeah, I think I'm too far gone to do anything about it now at this point. So part 1 is there ever a situation where somebody's too far gone because they've been waiting too long? And then on the flip side of that, for younger people who are active and all that type of stuff, is there anything that can be done in your younger years to prevent, or not prevent, but we'll say
Postpone
save the lifetime of their natural joint? So
Yeah.
I guess that.
So part 1, the simple answer is what I tell my boys all the time: where there's a problem, there's a solution. I don't ever remember, and I've done over 10,000 joint replacements in my career. I don't remember ever telling a patient that something could not be fixed, that it was too far gone. It may make it much more challenging to fix it, but again, literally where there's a problem, there's a solution. If we needed to, we could replace the entire femur with metal. Not ideal, especially in younger patients. But so yeah, just you want to get to it when you obviously don't want to do it too early, right? The person needs to be at the right point, not only from an X-ray standpoint, but they've tried simple things and their life is compromised, and they're sacrificing things, and they're starting to gain weight, becoming depressed, things like that. But for those people that have waited a long time, maybe they're in a wheelchair, we can still fix the joint. The harder part is getting them out of the wheelchair. I can't make someone stronger by doing a hip or knee replacement. So their recovery is going to be a little bit longer, and more is going to be demanded of them afterwards and their therapist to kind of get them mobile again. And for rheumatoid patients, if you're a rheumatoid patient and you've spent over 1 year in a wheelchair, the chances of you ever getting out of a wheelchair is almost next to nothing. Now, that doesn't mean that there's still not a role for a joint replacement, because the first, second, and third goals that I have for hip or knee replacement is get rid of pain, get rid of pain, and get rid of pain, right? I tell people I'm not shooting to get you more motion. Oftentimes you will get more motion. I certainly can't make you stronger, but I want to help get you out of pain so that you can live your life. Second part of that question was kind of, is there something that we can do to maybe prolong the inevitable of a joint replacement, or prolong the life of the existing native joint? And I mean, there's simple things out there. I mean, if you know that you have hip arthritis or know that you have knee arthritis, maybe just changing your activities a little bit from, wear and tear type of, like, say if you're a runner, but you still want to stay fit, maybe swimming or biking, where you don't have that constant weight bearing pounding on those joints. There's some loose evidence that if you take glucosamine and chondroitin, it's certainly not going to regrow cartilage. Once that cartilage is gone, the cartilage is gone, but you can help preserve any remaining cartilage that is left by some of these vitamins or supplements. But there's no magical bracelet, joint juice, injections, pills, supplements that are going to kind of reverse the wear and tear, but it may help to kind of allow you to live a little bit longer before you need a joint replacement.
Great. Yeah.
What else?
So, marketing isn't all that I do, but it's something like I'm drawn to. Mm-hmm. So, with you just recently celebrating your Freedom Day, I've always wondered, when you were back to Pennsylvania, because I know, like, you used to go out when you were in Michigan and you would do like little seminars, even at the Panera Bread,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. When you came back to Pennsylvania and after you left the practice or the group that you were with, they're a pretty well-established group
Yeah.
in Crawford County. What did you do to bring patients to you? Because obviously, it wasn't just you like renting an office. You automatically needed X number of staff working with you. So you needed to get it rolling in pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What did you do to get out there to get people to buy in that Dr. Molly was where they needed to go? Whole health was where they needed to go. So kind of like go backwards and what did you do there?
So real quick kind of timeline, 2015, I moved back to Pennsylvania late November. Actually, I moved back in October 2015. So I had 2 months with Dr. Frendak before he retired December 31st of 2015. So we overlapped only 2 months. And when he left, he was gone, right? So he kind of established and created a very, very solid foundation for arthroplasty or hip and knee replacement in Northwest Pennsylvania, in particular the Crawford County area, Meadville. So I owe a tremendous amount of gratitude, appreciation, respect to him. And I've told him this many, many times. And when I kind of stepped in there in November, we overlapped for 2 months. The concern was that he was doing probably 700 joint replacements per year at that point, a ton. And the concern from the group, from the hospital, was that those numbers were going to plummet. And I'm not trying to get too businessy, but like you need that volume, you need those numbers for the group to work, for the hospital to work without taking major financial hits. So I was committed to like, I'm going to prove myself and I'm going to prove these people that I can do this. I can continue to offer tremendous first-class service with hip and knee replacements. And this is not a dig at Dr. Frendak at all, but to bring that level up even more, right? And some of it was just what I was doing, right? Like direct anterior hip replacements. He was never doing that. He learned that later. He came in and studied, became a student. He came into my OR for 2 straight months in 2017, right before he decided to come back in 2018 when I started Whole Health. And he became a student of anterior hips, and he now does anterior hips as well. He was doing more of a traditional direct lateral approach. And I did partial knees, which, he had done a couple early on in his career, but was more of a total knee machine. Did some hips, but was more of a knee replacement surgeon. So bringing in new techniques that weren't being done, not just in Meadville, but in Northwest Pennsylvania, no one, even to this day, no one's doing direct anterior hip replacements. They may say they are, but they're learning. They're on the very cutting edge. The first part of that growth curve, which is frustrating, and there's potential a lot of complications that occur during that learning curve. And then there's some people that kind of tell people that they do it, but they maybe do it 5 or 10% of the time, whereas I do it 99.9% of the time. And same does with Dr. Frendak. So offering new services that were not being done before, and then continuing with my patient education, right? I needed to get out there and let my patients know that first and foremost, I was about quality of care and education. That was always paramount to me. That's how I built my practice in Detroit. And that's how I planned on not only continuing Dr. Frendak's legacy, but making it even better and bigger. And my first year in Meadville, I did over 800 joint replacements. So they thought I would maybe do 250 to 300, almost more than half cut. And I actually grew the business my first year. Now, it was all about timing for me. Had I done that right out of fellowship, I would not have been prepared to, number one, do the volume. Number two, do the volume to the quality that I was doing it, and to be able to make the business work. Because my first couple of years in Detroit, I literally built from 0 to 75 joints my first year. Then I went from 75, I doubled it to 150 my second year. Then I went to 225, I think. And then my last year, I did over 300. So it was steadily ramping up, which 300 joint replacements for any surgeon is a tremendous number. It doesn't sound like a lot compared to what I do now, but it is a very, very high volume. more than most surgeons do across the country in a year. So education was big, and I was still doing the seminars. I was getting out into the community. I was doing some in Erie. I would go to senior centers. I still do that now. And then I did a once a month seminar at our practice in our lobby, and I made that a mandatory thing. And to this day, I've done that for 14 straight years now of my practice. Wow. So it was a combination of new service line techniques. The other big one was outpatient surgery. No one was doing outpatient surgery, and no one still is. Literally no one in the area does same-day joint replacements other than whole health. So giving people kind of like things that they want but didn't realize were options. Does that answer it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then the staff too. That was a big one too, because starting whole health, I mean, I'm one spoke in the wheel, literally one spoke. Yes, I'm the captain of the ship, but without all the other spokes, without all the rest of the teammates or crew members, there is no whole health, right? I have an amazing team at the office. I have an amazing team down at Edgewood Surgical Hospital that make me look better too, because of the compassion that they deliver, the quality of care that they deliver, the attention to detail that they deliver. It has been a painstaking process to train everybody, to get everybody on board, but it's repetition, right? It's like early on, there was a lot of meetings. It's like, this is what we're doing. This is my vision. This is my goal. This is how we're going to do it. And I'd have to do that over because people are resistant to change. And a lot of the teammates were resistant to change initially, but when they saw the results and that these people were doing amazingly well and that they were able to go home the same day and get up and get moving so much quicker than traditional approaches, I had to earn their respect, but over time that happened. And when I left the previous orthopedic practice and started whole health January 1st of 2018, 100% of my staff members came with me. And then we grew, and we've more than doubled our size. I had about 14 or 15 employees when I started whole health in 2018, and we're over 30 now.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's been the biggest challenge and struggle, is just rapid growth, but those are good problems to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So, last business question. So again, kind of along marketing, but maybe most people won't see it this way. Kind of the best companies or brands in the world in terms of marketing, telling their story, all of that type of stuff. They don't put their products like at the forefront. They put the consumer at the forefront, or make the consumer the star of their show, and they let their product like support them. Like Nike, for example. You want to get fit? Great, go get fit. Let us help you. Like, you're not going to get fit because of Nike, but let us help you.
Sure.
And I've always kind of observed whole health that way too. Why is it like so important to you that you kind of create this phenomenal experience for patients, like an experience that they're not used to, like with the beautiful office and just kind of that relaxing environment? Not that it's not sterile, but not that typical cold office feeling. Like, why was that so important for you to kind of let them be the star and provide this great experience around them?
Yeah. So I'm glad that you asked that question, because I've put a tremendous amount of time and effort and energy and resources, investing money to building whole health, not only like the logistical side of whole health, but the physical side of whole health too. So the building, and you know, I've caught some criticism from other orthopedic surgeons that I'm friends with and colleagues with, that when I told them I was building my new office and kind of explained it to them, they're like, why? They're like, reimbursements going down every year, expenses are going up every year, and you're going to build this $3 million office. How do you even justify that? And why would you do that? And so, because I had this vision, right? And it was to build a state-of-the-art and you explained it perfectly. It's warm, it's inviting, it's like nothing you've ever seen. So for me, you know me, I think outside the box, and I use a lot of inspiration from other successful companies, whether it's a Nike. A huge one for me has always been Disney, right? Like they go above and beyond, right? It's like a magical experience. You walk in, you're mesmerized. You're looking left, you're looking right, you're looking at Cinderella's castle, you're looking at, the tree there. What's the one from the Swiss Family Robinson tree, which is super old, but still super impressive.
Yeah.
Like everything that they do is over the top. And to me, it wasn't just show. I wanted to put like my money where my mouth was and to deliver this first-class experience. And I love the word, the fact that you chose to use the word experience too, because to me, that's what it is. So bringing the patient in, the first thing they see, they're like, wow, this is different, but I like it. Then they see the face at the front desk. It's a friendly face. It's a welcoming face, a warm embrace, and it's filled with education. There's TVs all around, constantly streaming patient educational information. Over 32 TVs in my office. Every exam room has its own TV. You've seen all this. The fireplaces, the educational suite. But it's the staff too, that it's the process, right? So it's not just your standard, okay, here's your problem. We'll get the x-rays. Doctor's going to be in a couple minutes. And, 5 minutes later, I'm in, I'm out. You need a new knee. See you later type of thing. It's if I was doing this myself, or again, I always say this, but I'm dead serious. If my mom or dad were going through this process, which they both have had multiple knee replacement procedures. How would I want them to experience this? How would I want my loved ones to experience this? And it's first, best in class, over the top. And it's not like frill. It's real stuff, right? And it's to make this really anxiety-provoking, scary operation that you're about to have. Literally, we're cutting the ends of your bones off, right? I mean, like, how scarier does that get? It's barbaric when you think about it. But how can I put people's minds at ease by just the environment? Oftentimes, in a couple of my rooms, I have some soft, like spa-like music going. There's just features that I feel like are warm, soothing. Edgewood has the same kind of feel. It doesn't have the same vibe in terms of like the natural elements with wood. But so I'm all about senses too. Like for me, when I eat a good meal, it's got to really present well. It's got to look beautiful. It's got to smell beautiful. It's got to taste beautiful. And it's got to be in a great environment, right? Because I could have a gourmet meal, but it's a dump. And it's just not going to be quite the experience as if it's the full package. So I needed to have it the full package.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And I can definitely say that, in my experience, I haven't been a patient yet. Probably someday we'll have to have that conversation. But I've been the annoying guy in the hallway with video cameras several times. And even for me, your staff, they make it feel like, even though there might be 10 people in the lobby, they make you feel like you're the only one there. And they stop, they do, like, it's very over the top, like Disney.
It's culture.
It's awesome.
Right? It's hard to create that culture from scratch. But again, it was just time. It was repetition. It was multiple staff meetings. It was my leadership team is amazing. So they meet with staff on a weekly basis to just kind of keep the emphasis on what it is. And that is first and foremost, the patient, hands down. Everything else will take care of itself. So when those surgeons said, hey, how are you going to recoup this return on your investment by dropping multiple millions of dollars on this office when revenue is declining for what you do every day? I was like, it will. It's the big picture. They had a hard time seeing the fact that it's not just this. You got to see the big picture. Yeah. And it's worked out.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So it was a risk, but I'm not adverse to that.
Yeah, not at all.
So personal stuff?
Yeah, personal stuff. So, in a sense, I feel like a cheater, like sitting here, because I think I've told you this. Like, I write down every question that everybody asks. So I don't want to come in and ask you any questions so apologies, like, to your wife and stuff. I'm going to avoid those. Yeah. So first question I have for you is, something that you're comfortable sharing. What's something about you that's interesting, unique, that most people don't know?
Oh my gosh.
Interests, whatever it may be.
Wow. I wish my wife was here because she would rattle off a bunch of things that, I think because it's me, I don't really think of anything that I do that's really that super interesting. I'm pretty artistic. I haven't drawn or painted for a long time, but that was really one of my best skills growing up. And I just remember like my art teacher, my guidance counselor, everybody was always kind of like, yeah, you should definitely go into art or some type of design, right? And I've been asked that question before, like, what would you do if you weren't an orthopedic surgeon? And it's most likely like an architect or some type of design, drawing something, building something, creating something. So I guess to me, that's probably something that and maybe people do know that because they know that I kind of designed my office and my basement here. I designed all this kind of, I'm a detail guy, very, very much into details to the point that it probably annoys a lot of people because I pick up on things that some people think are trivial and no one's going to notice, but I'm like, that needs to be shifted over just a little bit or made bigger or smaller or whatnot. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next one would be, I know you're a big family person, all that type of stuff. I've known all of your family for quite a while, but if you reflect back on your childhood, what would be kind of that one core memory or core moment in life, like that you think about like regularly, like kind of like that most favorite childhood memory? What would that be?
I mean, my head's spinning with so many good memories, whether they're like meaningful memories, whether they're like funny memories, whether they're scary memories. But I was very, very blessed. I mean, we grew up similar lives. You grew up in the big city of Titusville though, right?
Yeah.
And my address is Townville, but I grew up in the suburbs of Townville, 3 miles outside of Townville.
Of the metropolis.
Yeah. Middle of nowhere, right? So my closest friend was Nathan Hager growing up, who lived right over by Maplewood High School. So there was a couple times where I would ride my bike to his place, but it was 3 miles, a little over 3 miles with some big hills. So gosh, try to think of some of the best memories. I think a lot of them were probably like what has driven me the most, which is like my competitive nature. And I have to attribute a lot of this to just like the basketball court. And I don't mean like the Maplewood basketball court. I mean the Molly Pavilion, the court that we had at our house. And there was some very aggressive, heated, drop down, physical confrontations that occurred with either my buddies or my sister, Kristen, who's 2.5, almost 3 years older than me. And there were late night battles. I mean, we'd be playing out in the summer till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, knowing that we had to get up at 5, 6 o'clock, go out, do our ball handling drills. I mean, we joke. My dad was General G. He ran a very tight ship. It was, you're not sleeping in ever. You're not watching cartoons ever. Like maybe on Saturday, you could sit down at the coffee table with a bowl of cereal and watch like 30 minutes of a cartoon, but then it was time for basketball, and we would train for probably an hour and a half or so every morning with drills. And then we had sheets that we had to fill out, and then it became like the work day, right? So we lived on a farm, so we would go out and these are good memories. At the time, they were kind of like, oh my gosh, I have to go out and do wood out in the woods because my parents still to this day heat their house with wood. So we would go out, we would do that, or putting fence up. That was a miserable job. But we did it as a family. And the more I look back on it, I kind of cherish those things. Again, my dad was OCD with the yard and how it needed to be maintained. So we mowed our yard 5.5, almost 6 acres, multiple times per week. As soon as you got done mowing it one day, which it was like a 2-day process, you had to start the whole process over again. Yeah. And I was the weed eater.
And it still looks great today, by the way. I drove by it this weekend. It looks
awesome.
Awesome.
They take a lot of pride in it.
Yeah.
And I will say it's not as pristine as it was back in the day, just because my parents are getting older, and it's just a lot, right? But yeah, I joke, like, you don't want to be too good at any job, because if you do, around my dad, you are now the official whatever that job is, and no one can do it better than you. And for that, it was me. It was weed eating. So, and I would have to go around. I have to go around all the fence, because the electric fence, if it had grass touching it, it wouldn't work, or it would short out. So I had to do that, several times throughout the summer. But looking back on that, I cherish it. My grandfather had a massive garden out behind the barn. And, I never participated in this, but my sisters would do all the canning of the vegetables. And my parents had a fruit cellar that was literally stocked from the floor to the ceiling.
Wow.
With vegetables and produce and potatoes that we would use throughout the year. So it was kind of like real true farm to table. We had a beef farm. So we had to do hay to feed the cows and load the barn up. And again, it was a horrible, miserable job when it happened, but it was fun because my best friend Jared would come over and we'd be up in the hayloft, screwing around, like having heart attacks because it was so hot. My brother-in-law, Chris, he became the stacker because he did a better job than anyone. And my dad made him the official hay stacker, which was a miserable job because he never got to get fresh air. He was in the back of the barn. Jared and I would take the bales off of the elevator. So we would come out to the window. We could get cooled down a bit, and we had to throw it back to him. But honestly, I would say I know it's not like one thing, but it's just like the summers where I grew up was amazing. My sister, when we did have a little bit of free time, we'd go out into the woods and we'd shoot my BB gun and we'd just run around. We'd build forts. One summer I built what was called a cool tub. I don't know or the cool pool, I think is what Jared called it. I dug a massive hole out behind the pine trees behind my parents' house, and I put a tarp in it, and I made like a hot tub, but it was filled with cold water. And sadly to say, my sister's sheep died at one point, and I think this is when I was like in college, and I came home, and not that I was using the cool pool at that point, but he's like, "Yep, April died, and thanks for digging that hole out there because she's now buried in it." And they've buried a couple more pets in there. They just keep stacking them in.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, just simple farm life. It was great.
Well, I was going to ask you something, but I feel like you've basically already answered that question. So, my next one is, knowing that you're a basketball guy, what was of your basketball career, we'll call it, what was your biggest highlight or most memorable time with basketball?
So it was after high school. It was a 3-on-3 tournament. It was up at Family First Sports Park. And for anybody that remembers those hoops up there, they're still up there, by the way. They were metal poles with metal backboards, metal rims that were 3 rims thick. The worst shooting rims in the world. Remember we talked about the Titusville YMCA 3-on-3. Metal backboards, wood backboards, wood frames. They were shooters hoops. I love
so
those.
Soft.
Right? You could shoot it and it'd be ding, ding, ding. It'd bounce around for a while and it'd go in.
Yeah.
So when I get up there, I'm like, and I was a shooter. That was my thing. I was like, ooh, this is not going to be good. Like the biggest part, the best part of my game is taken away because of these hoops. And we were working our way through. It was Mike Burrows, Justin Hill, my brother-in-law, and myself. Quite honestly, I don't think we had a fourth. You always had a fourth for a sub. And I can't remember what happened, but we did not have a fourth for this particular tournament. So we were tired. And we're coming through the bracket, and there were some really good teams. We get paired up against a buzzsaw. It was a Cathedral Prep team. So it was Julian Blanks, who was their star and played college ball. I can't remember where he played college ball, but you'll be able to look it up probably.
Yeah, we can look it up.
And show some photos of him. It was RJ Fiorelli, who's still in the Erie area. It was Graham Witherspoon. Graham was a really big African-American kid, super funny. I remember going to basketball camps with him growing up at Edinburgh, and he was like a comedian, but he was big. He was probably like 6'7", 6'8", and just thick, big body. RJ was kind of a slasher, and then Julian was everything. He was a point guard, but he could shoot. And I believe he was a lefty too. So we're like, oh, geez. Well, this is going to be like a quick game. And it was one of those moments. It was kind of like when I played in the Coquitlam Member Guests, where the stars align and you literally just, everything I put up didn't even hit the rim. And they were all threes. And we buzzsawed them. We demolished them. At the beginning of the game, everybody, there was like a couple people around watching, but I don't think anybody was paying much attention because they're like, oh, the prep boys are going to just bury these no-name guys from the country. And then there was some chatter. And by the end of that game, I'm sorry, I shit you not, the entire court was surrounded by people. And we became like the underdogs that everybody was cheering for. I mean, people were like, oh. And it was, they were in my face. And I just remember Justin and Mike. I mean, they were doing a great job getting rebounds on defense, but they didn't need to get rebounds on offense, and because it just happened, and they were kicking it out, and I was 10 feet. It was like Steph Curry. I was 10 feet behind. Now, the next game, we ran up against another prep crew, Keith Neese, who's a good buddy of mine. He played against Kobe Bryant in the state championship. He was a year ahead of me. Okay. Julian, I think, was my year or a year behind me. I think John Trokey was on that team. And I can't remember their third or fourth player, but Keith was watching that game. And Keith was a lockdown defender. He was quite a bit shorter than me, but man, he had my number. And I don't think I hit the rim the next game. So it was a short-lived moment, but
hey, it was a moment.
It was a moment that I'll never forget. Even my buddy Mike Burrows, to this day, he'll be like, dude, I'll never forget that day when you just caught fire. He goes, you literally did not miss a shot, and you were shooting from 10 feet behind the three-point line. So one of those just special moments that you tell your kids about.
So before my questions, speaking of 3-on-3, we played in a couple tournaments together.
We did.
Franklin and Titusville one year.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this today because I drove past. When we played in the Titusville tournament, I don't know if you remember this or not, but
you have a much better memory than me.
I was house sitting a house that weekend, and you came over and you stayed with me.
Yeah.
And that house had like a swimming pool in the backyard, basketball hoop and everything. And we went out and we lowered the rim like down to like 8-9 feet. And I
remember this.
It was just the two of us, and we were having like dunk contests. Do you remember what happened?
Did we break something?
Yeah. We snapped like the pole that the hoop was on. And
did we rig it up?
Yeah. So we had to go out to your parents' house after we were done playing that night, and we got a hammer drill because this post had like, I don't know, 18 inches of concrete in it.
And we drilled down into
we drilled down into the ground and then back up through the post. And then we found like a 14-inch piece of rebar and we put it down in and then lifted the hoop back up and put it down on, and then got black spray paint and spray painted the crack where you could see the concrete falling out. And they never asked me about it. So I think it held up at least till winter or whatever, when it probably fell over and they were like, yeah.
That hoop, it had its better days type of thing. Wow. I do remember that now.
Yeah. So.
Shall we turn the tables?
Yeah, let's do it.
So business stuff first. Again, you've done a lot of different things with golf, with your video production stuff. I usually kind of save this question till a little bit later, but if you weren't doing one of those two things, right, the golf or the video production stuff, what do you think you would be doing with your life?
I know what I would be doing. And like I had forgot about it for a long time, but when I was young, I was exposed to medicine. My grandmother, unfortunately, was diagnosed with cancer when I was younger, and she, in Franklin, they used to have like a cancer hospital called the West Unit.
Okay.
It was like right next to the Franklin Hospital, but a different building. And for probably about 10 months or so, my grandmother was in there.
Like full time?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like going through all kinds of different treatments and everything. And my mom would get us from school. We would go to Franklin. We were in the West unit. Like,
how old were you, by the way? Just so I...
4th, 5th grade. So
Okay.
probably like 10, 11 years old, around there.
Okay.
But she would literally like pack us dinner, pack our pajamas. We would go to my grandmother's room, do our homework, eventually get cleaned up, and usually fall asleep on the way home. But she had a great oncologist. His name was Dr. Kirkland. And he was, I don't know if he was this way with all kids or whatever, but he would explain things to me, talk about things. And for the longest time, I always said I wanted to be a doctor. And clear in the high school and everything. And I wasn't a very good math student. And I can remember my high school guidance counselor asking me, like, 11th grade, like, what do you want to do? And I said, I'd like to be an oncologist or, do some form of oncology. And he was like, yeah, that's not going to work. You're not that good at math. And like, kind of just like discouraged me completely from that. Told me to go into like different fields or whatever. And, kind of pulled the rug out from underneath me, or took the wind out of my sails. And it's funny, about a year ago was the first time I went into the OR with you. And I remember coming back home that night, like after we were done, and like my wife, Michelle, she said, how was it? Like, I can't believe like you would go in there and film that. And I just looked at her and I said, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Like, I feel like I completely wasted my life now. Like not, and I say that like kind of tongue in cheek because I love what I do.
And you're amazing at what you do.
But if I wasn't doing it and I could kind of like go back in time, that's definitely what I'd be doing.
Would you want to do oncology? Or just something amazing?
Again, I think like that's what my exposure was at that time. Like now, like having, kind of had like the up close and personal experience of seeing you in action, doing what you do. I love the idea of helping people, giving back however you can and kind of restoring life. So I don't necessarily know that I would say like, yeah, I do oncology or, anything.
But that was your first exposure that kind of...
Yeah. That was kind of the first up close exposure that I had that, just kind of guided me towards wanting to do that. But yeah.
So my superpower question, I like to ask people this question. So if you had to say Jay Witosky has one professional or personal, like what's your super strength that allows you to be so successful at what you do with your production company? What would it be?
Up until a couple of years ago, I don't know if I could answer that question. But really, I would say it's my problem solving capability. A couple of years ago, I had a mindset shift, and like you had kind of talked about, in past episodes, like focusing in or something, or having to like shift your mindset or your thought process about something. And after, kind of looking at things, like, I realized that like people came to me because they had a problem. It might be a marketing problem. It might be a training problem. It might be an education problem, but they had a problem, and somewhere, somehow I had the solution or hopefully had the solution to help them overcome their problem. So now, like, that's kind of like step one in what I do. Like, whenever I talk to a new client, I'm like, okay, tell me what your situation is now. And why do you want video? What is this going to overcome? And, you being a business owner, one of the most difficult things we have to do is like to be completely honest and like, it's not really admitting, but be open about where our deficiencies are. And we all have them. I mean, even the biggest companies in the world have deficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be completely honest about that. And then once somebody is completely honest with me, I don't necessarily say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I go away, really kind of dig into what their problems are, or try to uncover those problems, and then not just create a video to create a video, but create a video that's actually a tool that helps them overcome their problems. So I guess problem solving.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love, as I have all these little Mollyism quotes, but where there's a problem, there's a solution. But no matter what it is, I always enjoy, when you first get the problem, it's not always like pleasant, right? But when you dig your teeth into it and you get an opportunity to say like, this could be fun to try to solve this, to figure out how to make this better. So I like it.
Yeah.
So your favorite part of your day job and your least favorite part. So 2 parts, right? What do you really, or projects, right? Is there a particular project that you've worked on where you're like, gosh, I don't want this to end. This is so fun, versus one that you were kind of like, and you don't have to be specific about like people or names of things, right? But kind of like generalizations where you're kind of like, ugh, I got to get through this, or it could just be your day-to-day, like part of the process that is the least favorite part of it.
Yeah. So, on my favorite thing, honestly, is that no 2 projects are ever the same. Even with you, every week a new podcast comes out. They're never the same. Educational videos, even though they're kind of in a similar setting, they're not the same. So I love that like I'm not doing the same thing over and over all the time. My least favorite thing about what I do doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Whenever I deliver a video, I always expect that there's going to be revisions, changes, that type of stuff. It's just the nature of the beast. When actually I'm quite shocked if somebody says like, yes, this is perfect and nothing needs to change.
You're like, did you watch it?
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like almost trusting you.
So I'm expecting revisions all the time. Kind of one of my pet peeves is when they'll watch a video and they'll send me an email like, hey, can we change this? And change it, render it all out, which sometimes it can take hours to render out a video. Send it over to them again, and then 30 minutes later, it's, hey, can we do this? And then next thing you know,
so it's not a small tweak.
It's not a small tweak. So next thing you know, instead of them like watching it and just taking the time to really go over it and write all the notes and then send it over so all the changes can happen at one time, it takes 10 times longer to make the changes. And you're constantly opening up that same video, wasting time rendering it all out when you could do that one time. And
I'm sure that is just a very time consuming part of what you do is like filming stuff is probably pretty, I won't say simple, but it takes the time that it takes to do it.
Yes.
Right.
So, you're into art. Filming is kind of like collecting your canvas and your paint. you have to have the right stuff to be able to work with it. But the editing aspect of it is kind of like where you're creating that painting. So yeah, it's, once you create a painting, it's kind of hard to undo it, or if you do, it takes a lot longer than just doing it, early on. I mean, I really enjoy all the projects that I work on. I mean, there's definitely some that I work on. There's been, several different things. A couple years ago, we did a project that aired in Times Square for, I think it was 3 months, which was kind of crazy, almost overwhelming, because it's the most saturated environment in the world. So I honestly lost sleep over that, like thinking, how are we going to make something that stands out in that environment?
Yeah.
And we ended up getting great feedback, but my all-time favorite projects are like the projects where we can do something like to give back, whether it be like for veterans organizations or whatever. And back in 2010 or 11, I had the opportunity to spend 7 or 8 days in South Texas with, I think it was 9 different guys from the Wounded Warrior Project.
Oh, wow.
And it was a great experience. I don't want like the animal rights people to, but it was all aerial hog hunting. So like hog hunting from helicopters, which was pretty wild. And I spent all those days like essentially hanging out of a helicopter filming. And that was fun, but there were experiences that happened that week that have made like a permanent impression on me, talking to one guy who had one leg, both arms blown off, and burned like 3rd-degree burns over like 80% of his body.
Wow.
And I can remember him like looking at me and like tears were rolling down his face when he said this. He said, if they would take me back, I would go fight again tomorrow. And like, it's not necessarily the project, but all the experiences that come along with it that really make it what I enjoy.
Yeah, the stories, right? Like you meet so many interesting people in life,
Mm-hmm.
and whether it's what you do for a living, what I do for a living, I just really enjoy my interactions with my patients outside of the operating room, getting to talk to people and just hearing kind of, again, what makes them tick. And again, probably one of my favorite things about this project, the podcast, was, and I didn't know how much I would enjoy this. I just thought it would be a cool thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But man, has it been fun just being able to sit down and talk to people that I know and think that I know well, like even yourself. But then I learned so much about them that's truly inspiring to me and hopefully to our viewers that, it would be very boring if I just had a doctor on here every single episode. I mean, there's different areas of medicine and I've had several doctors and I'll have several more, but to have you, to have Jared Oakes, to have Bill Spiros, to have Anthony Santoro, to have all these people, different walks of life doing different things, it keeps it fresh. It keeps it like, it's inspiring to me. So, personal stuff.
Yeah. Fire away.
So, I know your family, your dad, your mom, your 2 sisters, growing up in the Titusville area, again, small town community.
Yep.
What would you say is kind of your favorite kind of childhood memory or adolescent, even high school memory of growing up in that type of community and kind of the impact that it had on you as just like a man today, a father, a husband?
Yeah. I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything. I think, and you experience this too, like growing up in a small community, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, it's everybody has your back, but also everybody kind of knows your business at the same time. So, it's kind of hard to get away, in a sense, when you live in a small community. Most of my like favorite childhood memories either revolve around like the time I spent with my dad or my grandfather, like when we could get away, like and go to the woods, go fishing, whatever it may be, like, you know, where you'd get to hear the stories from the grown adults when they'd maybe get a little loose with their tongue, and you'd hear stories that a 10 or 11-year-old wasn't supposed to hear at the time. You know, that's kind of what I loved. And like with growing up in a small community, it wasn't like we had to travel a couple hours to be able to do that. It was literally like out our back door.
Yeah.
My grandpa would call and, do you want to go fishing? And from the time he picked me up, it was 5 minutes until we were at the stream or wherever we were going. And, I really cherish that because
Now that grandfather, is that the one that you shared the story on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
So very powerful story, very powerful quote. Do you mind just sharing that for our viewers? That was today.
No.
And when I read it, it was just one of those things that, you know, I see a lot of things on LinkedIn. I love quotes. I love stories. So if you don't mind sharing that, this isn't one of my questions. It's
So
a bonus.
So actually today would have been his birthday, and that's kind of what inspired me to put it up. But I got to be with him a couple days before he passed away, and we were sitting. It was probably close to midnight. He was he had lung cancer, and it had spread to his brain, and he was having some hard times with some things. So he actually moved in with my mom, like for his last few months. And I was back kind of visiting at the time. And so it was just him and I sitting there talking. And
how old are you at this point?
23, maybe?
So you're an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Young adult.
Yeah. So, you know, and he was telling me like these stories about what him and his brothers and everything, like crazy things that they were doing as kids. And just out of the blue, he looked at me and he said, Jay, I want to tell you something. He said, it's okay to regret something that you did. It's never okay to regret something that you chose not to do. You know, so
kind of makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Yeah.
You saying that.
Yeah. And you know, I don't think he said it like to like make a profound impact on me, but I remember going up to my childhood bedroom that night and just kind of laying there like staring at the ceiling like, wow, you know, like that was huge. You know, because like kind of back to your question, like at this time, like I was chasing the professional golf thing, and you know, while there's positives with a small town, and there's also negatives, and you know, I had a lot of people rooting for me, you know, like in terms of my golf career, but I also had a lot of people like, hey, you're from Northwestern Pennsylvania, like kids from Northwestern Pennsylvania can't do that. You know, so that kind of quote just hit me differently then. Like, you know what, I'm going to chase this and I'm going to give it everything I have. And I've carried that on like into business. And, you know, yeah, there's times where it might be easier to go work for a production house somewhere or whatever, and yeah, have that security. But, I've never been one kind of to take the safe road. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, there's no better feeling than being your own boss and doing things the way that you want to do them because you believe in the way you want to do them.
Yep.
To me, that's the best way for me, Ryan Molly, to function.
Yeah.
Just because of my entrepreneur, and I know you're very entrepreneurial too. But yeah, that quote resonates so much with me. And when I read that today, I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
It literally made the hair on the back of my neck stand up when I read it, and when you again said it tonight. So thank you for sharing that, because I know how special and important your grandfather was to you, as my grandfather was to me.
Yeah.
And I don't have any awe-inspiring quotes from him. He was a man of few words, but he was a man of action, and was extremely hardworking. And but I fully embrace kind of that concept,
Yeah.
that mentality. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're busy, right?
Yeah.
You've got multiple kids,
Mhm.
doing multiple different activities. You're
Yep.
just sharing how Ty has been doing like a lot of musicals. I know he's
Mhm.
very much into athletics too. And
Yeah.
I mean, you're pulled in a lot of different directions. What do you do for you, for Jay, and to help like keep your sanity, keep your mental health and wellness in check, and just something that you like enjoy doing yourself?
Yeah. So, I have my passions. Everybody, I guess, kind of assumes that because golf was part of my career, that's probably something I do. To be honest, very, very rarely do I play golf anymore. I love to hunt. I love to fish. I definitely don't do it as much as I'd like to. Honestly, like for like what I do for myself and my sanity and everything is kind of just put everything away and enjoy time with my family. My kids range in age from 18 to 4. And so I'm very,
And there's
very
4,
busy. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep. So they keep us really, really busy. But I love my time with them more than anything. And that's really kind of what I do when I need a break, when I need to get away, is actually kind of spend time with those that really keep me the busiest. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny. And I love that about you, because I feel the same way about myself. Now, there's times where I just need to be away from everybody.
Alone.
Right?
Yeah.
Alone. And that's where I love getting out in the woods, especially archery season. Or I go down to the peninsula and I go for a really nice long walk. But you and I and everyone out there with kids, we're not going to get that time back.
No.
Right? And it's kind of like that, kind of like your dad's quote or your grandfather's quote. But and I've used this in previous podcasts, is like, no one ever at any point in their life probably is going to look back on their career and say, I wish I would have spent more time at the office, or doing more orthopedic surgery, or this or that. But you most likely are going to say, I wish I would have spent more time with my children and the people that you kind of sacrifice some time with, because you and I and everyone is so focused on providing for our families, which requires putting food on the table.
Yeah. And, that's one thing that I really don't keep a secret at all. Like if you saw my thing on LinkedIn today, LinkedIn, I think it's a great platform. It's probably my favorite social media platform.
It's the only one I do personally.
Yeah. And I get so much from it. But one thing that I really don't do on LinkedIn is I don't post a lot about business or give marketing tips or video tips or whatever it may be. I post a lot about my family when I do post on there. And really, I do that because I want people to see like the true side of me, where that is who I am. That's my priority. Like, yes, your project is absolutely a priority, but there have been times where, and I've never received any negative pushback from this. There have been times where I've had to send that, unwanted email where it's I know we said that we would meet this deadline by this day. Unfortunately, my daughter has a travel ball tournament. I'm heading out of town. We'll get this to you Monday afternoon. And I've never received any negative pushback from that. I think people respect that.
Yeah. It's your family, right?
Yeah.
As much as their project is a priority of yours, there's a bigger priority, which is, your family first.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
for sure.
All right. So you and your wife, what about you guys? What do you guys like to do? Do you guys like to travel? Do you like to go to nice dinners? Do you like to go on nature hikes? Do you like to vacation together? What is it that you love doing with her?
We used to take some trips together. That kind of slowed down a little bit with Graham, kind of our youngest, who I guess like we had kind of reached a point because we have 3 that are 18, 13, and 12. So, you know, it was kind of like life's
Getting a little autonomous, right?
yeah, you know, like, yeah, you're kind of getting to the point where like they're becoming self-sufficient, and then all of a sudden, like, this one's kind of plopped down. And
Diapers will do that to you, folks.
yeah, yeah. So it's put some strain like on our travel, like that we like to do, you know, in terms of getting away, because it's hard to say like, hey, can you take a 4-year-old for 5 days while we head out somewhere? So we don't travel as much as we'd like to. But we do like to just like kind of spend that like quiet time with each other, like at home, whether it be for half an hour, 45 minutes after everybody goes to bed. And it's just us. Sometimes we talk about our day. Sometimes we sit there and watch an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, you know, but it's just kind of sitting there, you know, rubbing her back, just letting her know that like, hey, you know,
Being
you're
present with one
important to
another.
me.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're not like big go out. I mean, we had that phase in our life a while ago. It's just, we're kind of like homebodies, really, you know, which I'm perfectly fine with.
I'm becoming more and more like that. Don't get me wrong. My wife and I, we love really good dinners. So if we get away, we'll usually do one trip a year. Like this year, it was our 15-year wedding anniversary. We went to Hawaii together, and there's no better time that I have with her than when it's just her and I, because I feel like I have her undivided attention and she has my undivided attention. And we have amazing dinners together. We go on walks together. We go to the pool together. We work out together. So, and sometimes it's just like when we went to Hawaii, we stayed on our time here. So we'd wake up at 3 a.m. We'd watch a couple episodes of Succession was the show that we were watching at the time. And then we'd take naps in the afternoon and we'd watch more Succession. So, but yeah, I just love the fact that you take that time to be with her and vice versa, because it is important. Because my life coach, Allison, she always tells me, you know, it's God for like your priorities. It's God, I, we, and then the family.
Yep.
And if you don't have a good relationship, and I'm not getting religious, it's just a higher power, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's whatever you call your God. But then if you don't, a lot of people skip the I and they go right to the we, or they skip the I and the we and they go to the family.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's a little resentment that builds up because you're not everything that you need to be for yourself, which then allows you to be everything that you need to be for your spouse, which then allows you to be everything that you need to be for your kids. And I'm not saying that it's perfect, but like I have focused a tremendous amount of my time and energy over the past several years to get that pecking order in place.
Yeah. And, you know, that's something that was kind of like ingrained to me, like as in a young age, like from at least like definitely from my mom, you know, kind of that same order that you're talking about. And, you know, like with my wife and I, she's a kindergarten teacher. I mean, and so sometimes, you know, just being honest about it, sometimes it's not the easiest thing for me. Like when she comes home and she's just like, I need a break, you know, it's like, well, yeah, we all need it. You know, sometimes I'm thinking that, but like I can definitely see it more and more. And honestly, one of my favorite things to do, at least for her, is like when she needs help with something, like with school. You know, at the time she might ask me like, hey, can you do this? And I'm gonna be like, oh, that's the last thing I want to do. But when I get into it and I kind of realize like, you know, like, yeah, I might not be enjoying this, but it's for her, then my mentality around it kind of changes. And I really enjoy it. Like, she's had me come in and do video projects for her classroom,
That's awesome.
like end of the year, like type videos. Or one year we did one for Christmas that the kids could like give their parents for Christmas. And she is like the toughest client to work with, and by far the worst pay. Like, but
You at least get a back rub out of it.
yeah, but you know, I really enjoy that because it's kind of like that whole like type thing kind of at the top, and
That's a really cool
hopefully
idea.
she sees it, you know. But
I'm sure
yeah.
she does.
Yeah.
So shall we do the 7th inning Sawbones shoe stretch?
Yeah.
So let's have it.
So I'm gonna do something a little different. I mean, there's a couple episodes out there that still have to be edited that I haven't seen, but so I am not a shoe guy.
Yeah, you texted me earlier. You're like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to wear.
I was gonna bring a pair of shoes. But Dr. Colonna kind of beat me. I was gonna bring a pair of golf shoes that have traversed the grounds of St. Andrews, Augusta, and Pebble Beach, but he beat me to the Augusta thing, so I didn't bring
Anthony,
those.
why'd you do that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But then I was gonna bring a pair of flip flops to be the first person to wear a pair of flip flops. Or maybe, I don't know the other
Yeah,
ones,
no,
but,
no one's done it
but
yet.
yeah, but no, I just threw on kind of like my daily Adidas kicks. I don't really have a story behind them other than my wife got them for me for Father's Day. So
And they're comfy.
yeah.
I mean,
they're
I don't
great.
think I've
So-
ever seen you in the past year and a half in anything other than Hey Dudes.
Yeah, that's a staple.
That's
you
kind of
know,
what I
for-
thought I'd
for
see
the
in,
most
but-
part. But I did bring something shoe related that I tried to keep hidden from you,
Well, you,
and it's this guy. And the reason I brought this was in our house we have this shoe closet. And the shoe closet is like my nemesis because one of my pet peeves is like walking in the door and the shoes are kicked everywhere with 4 kids. And
you can't find a matching pair.
yeah, and I'm always like, pick up your shoes. So they pick up their shoes and they throw them in this closet that's become the
like
shoe
the
closet.
junk drawer.
Yeah, yeah, essentially. And the other, this was a couple weeks ago. Like I was kind of on like a rampage tear because there were shoes everywhere. So I opened up the dreaded closet and I was just throwing things in. And this little shoe rolled out. It's been 2.5 years since Graham wore this shoe. Like I thought it was gone a long time ago. And like it kind of just like I just froze in my tracks like when it rolled out. And I picked it up, and so the last couple weeks it's kind of been like sitting by my desk. Because this time of year is like always the craziest time of year for me. And it's super busy all the time. And if I'm going to run into a burnout phase, it's this time of year. And so I've just kind of had this like sitting on my desk underneath one of my monitors, just kind of to, I guess, remind me that even like when I'm feeling burnout or whatever it may be, that like this whole thing's bigger than I am, you know, like I've got this to worry about. So like I was like, God, what am I going to do for this shoe thing? So I just snatched it away and brought it
this
with me.
section of the podcast has quickly grown to become like one of the most sentimental, like heartfelt sections. Like when I first started it, simply started it because I'm a shoe guy, especially a Jordan shoe guy.
Yeah.
But I was like, there's usually stories, right? Behind meaningful things in people's lives. And to me, there's always a story behind every pair of shoes. So your episode, everybody's episode has had some meaningful story, whether it was Dr. Colonna walking on, Augusta. Last night, my guest, Archana Anand, hasn't well, it has aired when this has aired, but you haven't even seen it yet or edited it yet. She had us a great story. I'm not going to spoil it, so I want you to kind of hear it, but it's very similar to Dr. Hutzel's story. Very similar.
Which that was super. His story was super powerful. That's like stopped me. And I had
all the episodes, that may be like the one that was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Right. And this is up there, right? Like it's almost like God was talking to you. Right?
Yeah.
I picture you. I'm picturing like Chevy Chase when he goes nuts
shoes
with the Christmas lights.
Yeah.
And he's, taking the chainsaw to cutting up, fix the nose post. And I'm picturing you with like a blowtorch, like coming in with a flame retardant suit, like just going into the closet. And
very similar. Yeah. You're pretty accurate with what you're.
Those are called dad moments. We all have them, so don't feel bad about it. But so a couple things today. So generally I'm wearing some Jordan gear, but I was like, what can I wear today that's a little different for Jay? So one was my shirt, right? And huge, love going to concerts, and I've gone to several concerts with you, and that's kind of like one of my favorite memories of you. Not just a memory, but memories was going to concerts with you.
Forgetting tickets.
Yeah, so many good stories. But honestly, and we've never been to a Pink Floyd concert together, but by far and away, my favorite band of all time is Pink Floyd. So I went into my closet. I'm like, I've got some band t-shirts. By the way, you never wear the t-shirt of the band that you're going to see, right? So if you're going to a Dave Matthews concert, you don't wear a Dave Matthews t-shirt. That's etiquette 101. So I wore this, but then I was like, shoe, what am I going to do for shoe wise? I had some pink ones. I was like, well, Pink Floyd, pink shoes. I'm going to save that till October, although this episode's probably airing in October.
Yeah.
But for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I'm going to do some pink ones, maybe in the next episode. But then, so these are the Air Jordan 3, and these are called the Retro Patchwork Camo. So as you can see, each of them are different too. Like they're not like a matching set. The right's different than the left, but they have different areas of camo. And knowing that you're a big outdoorsman, huge hunter, especially archery, and I've gotten into hunting more so recently with archery. It just seemed fitting to do this.
Yeah, they're great.
And it kind of leads into the next section, the Sawbones Challenge, folks. And we're going to do something a little different tonight. So it's a little dark. It's the one thing I don't like about this is I've always started recording my episodes at 6:00. The problem is as the seasons change, when you get done recording this and you're getting ready for the Sawbones Challenge, it's dark outside and it gets a little hard. So we did pre-film our challenge, but I said, Jay, why don't we do something differently? And we kind of tossed around a couple different ideas, whether it was a putting competition. Definitely wasn't dressed to go to Coquin and do a putting competition. Plus, that would have just taken a lot more time. It would have been a cool thing, and maybe we'll do it sometime.
Yeah.
We definitely have to play golf. But again, both liking hunting and stuff, I was like, well, what we could do, we go to my parents' house and we could shoot a bow or a gun or something like that and do a Sawbones like hunting challenge, so to speak. And then it was like logistics of getting the camera there and making sure that we got the footage by the time you wanted to edit it. So I was like, well, Luca has a little crossbow. So tonight we're going to do a crossbow outdoor backyard Sawbones challenge, and looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So it's already been done. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to let you check it out here in just a little bit. So stay tuned. Once we're done with the challenge, we'll come back here. We'll do our conclusion and on to Thursday Night Football. This is the opening of the NFL season tonight. Chiefs and Lions. So my boys are rooting. Well, one of them's rooting for the Lions because, Papu and Yaya is one of my biggest fans. That's Karen's mom of the podcast, as my mom is too. By the way, yesterday I called her on the way home. She's like, yep, I'm pretty sure I was the first one to watch your podcast this morning. Woke up 5:45 and 6:01. I opened it up and watched it.
Good. You have regular followers.
Yeah,
now,
and Karen's been loving it too. So she's been like, I'll come home and she'll have her AirPods in and she'll be listening to it. And she's like, oh, I really like that episode. But Sawbones Challenge coming up next.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Hey everybody, Sawbones Challenge, but this time we're going backyard version. And we're going to change it up from basketball to something that Jay and I both like to do. shooting bows and arrows. But we're going to shoot a crossbow tonight. So this is my son's crossbow. And same kind of rules. First one to hit the target 5 times. And Luca, why don't you bring the target out? So we had to make this kind of fun. So there it is. This is what we're shooting at.
So is it just hit the target? Or
Yeah.
Is it...
No, I think it's maybe if you hit me, it's 2. If you hit anywhere in the target, it's 1. First 1 to 5.
Okay.
Does that make it fun?
Yeah.
Okay, because you got to aim a little to the left if you want to hit me, so you could miss it easier instead of dead center. But let's do this. First 1 to 5. Your honor. You go first, my friend.
All right.
And I haven't shot this for a long time, so I don't know how it shoots, how high, how low. This is the first shot for both of us. Whoa! All right, we got some contact. Is it on the right?
It looks dead center.
Right.
That was right. That was a hit.
Yeah. Somewhere. Whoa! Some interesting shots here. Up the ramp, off the side of the. In contact.
Another hit.
Did we get a double? I aimed a little left this time. Oh! Contact!
I think that might
Finally.
have hit you.
Did he get a double?
Finish him.
Oh!
Hit it.
That hit you
Finish him!
Looks like...
right in the jaw.
Oh, keep it there. We gotta go over to the camera. Ooh.
It doesn't look anything.
There we go. There we go, folks. That was fun. The backyard
was fun.
version. Finish him shot. Right there.
Finish it.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
All right. So I want to thank our arrow retrievers, Luke, Michael, Molly, Santino. What's your middle name? William. Molly. All right. We'll see you in a little bit for the conclusion. Stay tuned. All right. Welcome back from the Sawbones Challenge. So kind of in conclusion, Jay, you know the question. Where do you see yourself? 5 years, 10 years? You still in Northwest Pennsylvania? You moving to become a golf pro down at Augusta? Or what are you and your lovely wife and doing?
I definitely see myself. I mean, I'm still going to be around here for sure. 10 years from now, our youngest will be 14. So I don't really see us in a position to up and move then.
Yeah.
My wife has a career that she loves at your elementary alma mater.
Maplewood Elementary School.
Yeah.
Teaches with my sister, Shannon.
Yeah. So I see us, in the 10 years still being around here, definitely, want to continue to grow. I'm not one of those people who kind of lock myself down to a certain projected path. I want to be fluid to be able to kind of provide the service where it's needed the most. Grow. My older kids will probably, Sydney will be in college next year. The other ones will be in college. I just want to be kind of healthy, happy, just enjoying life.
Enjoying life.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
I have no doubt that you will be successful both professionally and personally. You always have been. I love the fluidity because I think the same way. Yeah. Do I think I'll still be an orthopedic surgeon doing hip and knee replacements in 10 years? Absolutely. But it'll look different. I can't explain or I can't predict what that difference will be.
Yeah.
But still be in Northwest Pennsylvania and same. Enjoying my family, enjoying my wife, enjoying my life.
Yeah.
And just focusing on.
It does go quick.
Does.
It doesn't seem that long ago that
we're
we were-
midlife.
Yeah, that we were, kind of, I don't want to say living our best life, but we were definitely having fun.
We were having fun.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade going back for anything. Right? I
Yeah.
love where I'm at now and my family and this and that. But if you had a day or so, it'd be fun to go back.
I was going to say, like, if you could take the knowledge that you have now
yeah.
and go back for like a weekend, would you do it?
Well, I don't think it would be a very fun weekend because I wouldn't do the things that I did 20 years ago. But I would definitely, there's definitely certain things where like we did a lot of stupid, dumb things that, like all young people do. But I would definitely, if I could go back and not have necessarily the responsibility for a day, I definitely would do that. Again, I wouldn't do anything dumb or dangerous, but just to kind of live that carefree life and go and just, whether it's going to Myrtle Beach, right, and just having fun with my buddies.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So.
it's and it's like I always try to keep things in perspective, like with my kids and stuff. Like, what they're stressing out about, like today, like I realize it's a big deal to them, like at the time, but 5, 10, 15 years down the road, it's going to be so meaningless at that time.
Amen.
And
talking to Anthony today about 7th grade research, recess football. And he's like, I didn't get any passes today. I'm like, wow, that's the biggest problem of your day. It's like, well,
you're doing pretty good.
In 10 years from now, you're going to wish you had 7th grade recess back.
Yeah.
I was like, you still have recess in 7th grade?
Yeah.
Like, well, every once in a while. So.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, Jay, thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming on, but also for everything you do behind the scenes, because this podcast wouldn't be what it is without you. I love the fact that we're kind of doing this together and you're the one behind the scenes making everything look so good. And by the way, I've had so many compliments that maybe you don't hear or see, but people telling me like, wow, that the production quality, the videos, the transitions, everything is just so smooth. And so thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem. And it's funny that you said, like, my wife feels like you're like the honorary, like 7th member of our family, because like in my quiet time or whatever, I might be touching up a podcast here and she'll walk by and see it on the monitor and she'll be like, yeah, I feel like Ryan lives with us sometimes. So yeah.
But
she I've had a great
affinity
time
for the tree too, right?
She loves it. Yeah. She loves it. So,
well, thanks again, bud.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
So as always, make sure you tune in, make sure you subscribe, leave comments, leave suggestions, send me emails of, hey, any guests you'd like to see, any topics you would like discussed, send me questions. Jay's, 2 of his kids have sent me questions, which are always fun to answer. And then other than that, just stay tuned, have fun, enjoy life, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
And basically, always thought medicine was kind of cool from the beginning, but never thought I would actually do it. So I actually, went to high school with a year behind Mike Tomlin at Denby High School.
Oh my goodness!
And
he was a receiver, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, now the coach of Steelers, and yep. So then I'm judgmental instead of a perceptive type person. So I will judge things and weigh them too, not being judgmental. Like I'm judging you, I'm not judging you. So don't ever think that. It's a whole different.
Kim's drinking a glass of wine on a Wednesday night.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, when is she on her second? I'm like, I've been holding off because I'm on camera.
Jay, you can pause
is a
it.
Fantastic wine.
And the next glass will be even better.
Yeah, exactly. I was always an independent contractor. I would never be an employee for anybody.
So you were never employed?
No.
Okay.
And I early on developed Mesa Medical LLC.
Okay.
And I would be an independent contractor. There's cons to that. I was able to do that because I didn't need the benefits. I didn't need the employee contracts and all the things that go along with that. So I had to do my own taxes, or we had our CPA do our taxes. So there are cons to that, but the pros are you can say, I am an independent contractor. You want me, I'm working these 2 days a week, and that's it. Because as a female in this field, it's very interesting. You have to give yourself breadth to grow and to do what you feel you need to do as a female. And I believe there are very real differences between men and women. And there is nothing wrong with the maternal instinct and raising your children and spending the time to do that and saying, that's okay, I'm going to give myself that. So yes, I had all this education, but my priority is raising these 3 human beings and doing the best I can to be there for them first. That's our number one job always, and I think mostly as a mom.
Well, I have loved some fishing in the outdoors where I'm free. It's where I spent my time before I hurt my hip and my knee. When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. I wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got this pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.